All right. Welcome back. Hope you're enjoying the course so far. And this lesson is going to be about something that I call the 12 melodic classes of riffs. Now, this is just one approach. We're going to be going over lots of different approaches in the overall course. So think of this as just like another tool in your tool belt. And just to review, some of our bread and butter things are going to be like the dominant 7 chords, dominant 7 arpeggios, the pentatonic scale, So those are just some things, but there's other things as well. But even with basic, bread and butter things, it may be challenging to come up with riffs. A big part of that is the rhythm. It's really like the notes you're playing and the rhythms that you're using with the notes. So, again, I really recommend like the shuffle as a starting point. Now, if you're really drawn to other rhythms, don't let me stop you. This should be about your style, not Claude's style. So, there's a lot of great straight feel grooves. That's like a straight. So when I say straight feel, I mean like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's another one. So whatever sound you're drawn to, go for it. I just really recommend in the beginning that you follow along with me and just let's explore the shuffle groove. There's some reasons for that. First of all, and I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent before the lessons even got started here, but I think this is important. I'll just want to hit this point and then we'll get on with the lesson. But first of all, if I sit down, and even if I'm jamming like some kind of a straight feel thing, it won't be long before I kind of revert back. It just has a lot more swing and it's just easier, I think, especially with solo guitar. The other reason is more like of a logical explanation. There's a certain asymmetry that's part of the language of the music. When I say the word asymmetry, I mean like not symmetrical. So, if you're always playing, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's hard to make that musical. So the straight feel stuff typically has, sometimes it has like different length notes, and also sometimes it'll stretch out notes like on the ands, like 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 4. But there's a lot of different choices. Like, do you stretch out on the second beat, the third beat, or whatever? There's like many ways to do it. But the shuffle feel has a built-in asymmetry that's so simple because it's just like one note that's 2 like eighth note triplets, and then one note of 1 eighth note triplet, 1 trip D. So, I'm not aware of anything that's more simple than that as far as getting some kind of asymmetry, and that gets the groove, So, anyway, long story short, the rhythms are important. So when I'm explaining these kinds of riffs, I call them classes of riffs. You can call them, styles, varieties, whatever. You want to right away try to make something musical, and again, I recommend like something with a shuffle rhythm. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so again, going back to what I said before about dominant chord arpeggios, minor pentatonic. we can sort of go a little bit more narrow than that. Just carve out a couple of notes that we can use. Okay, so the first one, without further ado, let's just descend down. We could go from our root. Now I'm in the key of A. Again, I'm tuned out half a step, but I call it A. There's my root, 7th, 5th. So those three notes are going to be like the first class of melodic riffs, and specifically descending. So now this is kind of interesting because these three notes are part of both. They're part of the minor pentatonic, and they're also part of the dominant 7 arpeggio. Again, you can think of it as those specific notes: root, the flat 7th, and the 5th. So, if I wanted to, use the shuffle rhythm, there's one. So I'm hitting the root twice. And you can, try different ideas. Or, pay attention to where the lick starts and ends. Again, this specific class of riffs is going to be starting on the root and going down. That one I hit the 7th twice. Notice that. I don't have to hit the root twice. I could go or. So play around with that, but notice I got that that same triplet. So stick with the triplet feel, but then play around. Again, the first example is kind of the classic way to do it. Or I think that's what I was doing. But yeah, that one ends on the root, so that's very kind of very root centric, very basic. Can't go wrong with that, right? You can throw in your chords. So I was just throwing in a major chord. This is a chord with pinky here on the 7th. Now, again, it's a great idea to try to play around with each one of these classes of riffs and take it through the 1-4-5. So there's my 1. Four. So a little sloppy there at the end, but hopefully you get the idea. So you can move it up the neck like that. You can play in position. All right, hopefully you get the idea. It's that this specific group of notes, these three notes, is just one idea that you can build on and just make your own riffs and play through a blues. All right, so we got a lot to get through here, so let's keep going. I'm not going to spend too much time on each of these, but hopefully the points I'm making are resonating. Again, just to recap, the rhythms are super important. The groove, go with the shuffle feel, and just pay attention to what notes you're ending on and stuff like that. All right, so the next one is going to be super simple. It's just going to be like an octave. So you can follow it up, or not. Now, you don't always have to do the chords like I was saying, but you can do it down here as well. again, it's just basically about using an octave. You might have to add a little bit more because there's not much meat on the bone with just the octave. But then you could, think about what else you can do. You can go down from the octave to the seventh. You could go up. You can go back down and then do something else. You could combine it with the first one we did. Freddie King used to love to play those kind of octave riffs with the melody where, that kind of thing. All right, so that's just like number 2, I guess, ascending with the octave. The next one is going to be ascending with to the 7th degree. Now the cool thing about this, and I did a YouTube lesson about this, when you ascend to the 7th, you can actually do that with on the 1, the 4, and the 5, and you still end up all within the minor pentatonic. So in your 4 chord, the 7th of the 4 is your minor 3rd, and then your 7th or your 5th is your 4th degree. So you have something like this. So that wasn't necessarily a complete musical 12-bar blues, just trying to illustrate these harmonies are all within the pentatonic, which makes them very easy to use. And again, this is just like a starting point. When I say the melodic class is root to 7th, that's just going to be a starting point. If you only play that, again, it's not necessarily enough meat on the bone. The first one we did with the was a little more complete. 3 notes is just a little more full than 2, but you can do this where you hit them separately and then together. And this technique again is pick and then using a little bit of what's called hybrid picking, where I'm using my fingers here to pluck the D string. So separately, but again, notice the shuffle feel. 1, 2, and 3 in. 2, 2, trip, 2, trip. 1, 2, and 3 in. And again, when I play something like that, think of it as a 2-bar riff. 1, 2, and 3 in, and you rest in the 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. There's my second bar. All right. The next one is going to be your 3rd, 5th, and 7th. So this is basically like a dominant 7 arpeggio, but without the root. So it's an easy one to combine with the chord. So when you hit the chord, you're getting your root there. All right, so yeah, sometimes leaving out the root makes it more musical, especially when you go back to the root and hit it. And again, you can take this through the 1, 4, 5. was a little bit exaggerated, but you could just hear just a second ago when I was playing that, I wasn't hitting the roots. You could still kind of hear the chord. All right, so that's that idea, 3rd, 5th, 7th. Okay, the next one is going to be 4th, minor 3rd, and root. So basically descending down the pentatonic scale. So again, that's just one way to do it, where I hit the root twice like that. You could do something else. A million combinations, but again, the basic one. Now this is interesting because you're not starting on the root, you're ending on the root. So you can sort of make it more full by hitting the chord, the one chord. But what you can do when you go to the 4 chord, instead of ending there, you could just go back to the 4 on the on the 4 chord. So something like this. Next one is going to be root to the minor 3rd to the major 3rd to the 5th. So this is interesting. You get into these minor 3rd to major 3rd. There's all kinds of ways to use that. You could combine it with the 4th even, but let's stick to one thing at a time. That was with the 4th. So this is just... Notice I hit the root twice, very common. All right, let's just keep going. We'll go through the rest of these a little bit quickly. The next one is going to be 3rd, 5th, and 6th. Excuse me, 6th. So a moment ago I was showing you this one. 3rd, 5th, and 7th. Now we're going to go... That 6th degree is really cool. It just gives it a little bit of a softer, sweeter sound. The 6th is going to be part of your major pentatonic rather than your minor pentatonic. And it's not really part of the dominant 7th. It's actually part of the 4 chord dominant 7th. Or you could think of this as a major 6 or something like that. So, but we're not worried about the root. It's just, those 3 notes. So here's one way. Another way would be, another way could be, another way could be, so again, pay attention to, I keep saying it, but pay attention to where it starts and stops. And just try to keep messing around with it. And always focus on the groove, and you'll come up with some really cool stuff. All right, the next one's going to be root, minor, 3rd, 4th. So this is very similar to the one where we descended, except now we're going to be going up. And sometimes we'll just go back down to the root to emphasize the root. Again, on the 4 chord, you can just stay there. Back to the 1. Next one's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be using the 2nd degree and the 6th. So more of a major pentatonic sound. So there's my root. I'm going to just go up here. Next one's going to be root, minor, 3rd, and 7th. And you could also play the 7th down here. which is just kind of a classic, minor pentatonic. But you could also get it up here. And then on the 4 chord, you could hit the 6th instead. Back to the 7th. All right, 2 more to go. This one's going to be root 5th, 6th, and 7th. The classic blues has got that 5 to 6 kind of sound. So that could be sort of almost another one, but let's throw in the 7th as well just to... So this one I'm skipping over the G string and playing on the B string, again with the hybrid picking. And let's close it out with one more. We started with this. Let's do the same thing, but ascending now. 5th, 7th, back to root. All right, so there you go. I just went through the 12 classes of riffs. And again, this is just a starting point. This is just another tool for you to come up with ideas and hopefully never get stuck and have like a million things to play. All right, so hope you enjoyed this one. Let's keep going.